Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Empowered, brought to you by Cancer Warrior Canada Foundation. I'm Rebecca Durrance-Hine, cancer thriver, actor, model, founder of Arenda Cancer Community and blog, and your co-host of Empowered. As always, I want to encourage you guys to participate in tonight's episode by posting any comments or any questions that you might have for our guest. And if we do happen to get some questions in throughout the show, we'll save some time at the end to address those. I am absolutely thrilled to welcome our empowered guest for this tonight, sarcoma survivor, therapeutic cannabis professional, and my friend, Alicia Bennett. Alicia graduated from Texas A&M University with a Bachelor's of Science in Horticulture with a focus on Education and Horticulture Therapy. And Alicia is currently employed at Prime Alternative Treatment Centers, where she provides guidance and education for therapeutic cannabis patients. Over the years, she has worked with several advocacy organizations, helping to raise awareness about the benefits of medical cannabis. Welcome, Alicia, and thank you so much for being here tonight.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. I'm so glad to be here and grateful for this opportunity.
So we'll just jump right in, and why don't you give us a little bit of background information? So can you tell people a bit about your cancer story and how you came to discover cannabis and why you ultimately decided to work with cannabis?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a fairly long story, but I can condense it as
Go
best.
for it. No.
When I was 15 years old, I found a lump under my right armpit. After several misdiagnoses, we found out it was a desmoid tumor. Rebecca, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my computer went blank.
No worries.
Yep. So when I was 15, they found this tumor. At first, it was not quite sure how it'd be treated. It's a type of cancer that's non-metastatic. It doesn't travel through the bloodstream, but it affects organs locally. So we started treatment by doing two major surgeries. The first surgery, they just removed the tumor. It didn't work. The second time, I had 25 days of radiation. They tried another surgery. It just didn't work. But we thought it did. Basically, I was going to high school and I was dealing with this tumor. Wasn't quite treated as a cancer, but it was treated as something that was really harmful. But after the second surgery, we really felt that I was safe enough to go to college in Texas. So at that point, I said, all right, I think I'm healthy enough to go to school. But when I was in Texas A&M my freshman year, I felt the tumor again and realized that it had come back. And at that point, I was in school. I was really dedicated to being there and living my life. So I ended up finding great doctors at MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, Texas. And there I started getting treated as a cancer patient and was treated with several drug therapies. I did 2 different types of chemotherapy back to back. Meanwhile, the tumor at the time had grown to be about the size of a watermelon. It's very large, very heavy. It affected my mobility. It affected my breathing. It was very painful. So it was about my sophomore year of college. I was already going through my first round of chemotherapy when I found cannabis. In a college town, cannabis is around.
Yeah.
And I was at a party and a friend had a bowl and we were outside, handed it to me, said, "Do you want to try this?" And, I was on enough drugs at the time. I was like, why not?
Why not?
Really at the time, I didn't understand cannabis that well. I didn't have a lot of friends that personally used it.
Right.
I did a little bit of research on it, but didn't quite understand how it could help with different symptoms. It's not like that education was really readily available to me. Definitely that night changed my life. I just remember very vividly that I felt good. It was very rare when you're dealing with something like that. And after that, it was something that I found rarely, but every time I found cannabis, it was just like, this is helping me. This feels good. So as I was going through my treatments from then on, I started getting more and more access. And I was going to college at the time. And by 2016, none of the drug therapies were working. I had started clinical trials at that point. I tried several, and clinical trials they're hard because you hope for this drug or this treatment that might work. And it's just, I was disappointed a lot of times. And finally we had the big option. I did in the beginning of 2016, I did a drug trial with a chemotherapy in it. I was out of school. I was the most unhealthy at that point, and the tumor was just so heavy. So by mid 2016, I was really dealing with quality of life issues. I was unhappy, and my mental health was not in a good place. And there was one night that I finally sat there and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And that night I had to sit with my mom, and I sat out there and I smoked and I talked to my mom, and I was like, we need another option. So we decided to do a surgery. This was a big surgery we planned for August 17, 2016. It included the removal of this massive tumor, but it also included the removal of my right arm, my right breast, my right chest wall, parts of my neck. It was a very expansive surgery that was planned, and it took months of preparing, both mentally and just physically. And Cannabis was with me at that point daily. It was my best friend. I just would sit out there for hours and just try to make this decision and try to accept that I was going to be living my life with a disability, that, I would deal with pain in my life daily. And, it wasn't a guarantee. They could have done the surgery. I'd had surgeries before. It could have not worked again. But it felt like the best option. And going into that surgery, it's, I told Rebecca this before we started live, but it was 1 year, or my 4-year armiversary, I call it, yesterday. So it's been 4 years since the surgery. And I woke up afterwards. The doctors said it was successful. They managed to get every cell of that tumor out. So since that moment, I haven't had cancer in my body. I've been no evidence of disease since then, which has been incredible. A lot of healing was involved in the last 4 years, though. It's been incredibly so. And cannabis has helped me in so many ways. So about a year ago, I finally got the position at my local dispensary. It's the one I started using when I became a therapeutic cannabis patient in New Hampshire. And it's been the most amazing place because I get to personally witness other patients finding the kind of relief that I found.
Yep.
And I can also find that my story and my experiences help other people.
Oh, totally.
It's very neat. Again, I know that might have a long story, but it's really, my experiences have shaped who I am today and what I fight for. And, cannabis is something that has helped me in more ways than I can count. It truly, I can say it saved my life. And for that, I will keep advocating for it. And I'm happy to be here and do things like this because it's rewarding.
And it's so important too. And I always think what's the point of going through the really difficult stuff that we have to go through if we, one, can't grow from it personally, and then if we, two, can't help other people through that experience. So it's really wonderful that you are taking the opportunity to do that, because I think for me anyway, personally, it has brought a lot of positivity and meaning to my cancer experience, to be like, oh, that's why I had to go through this, so that I could help other people who are coming next. So it's really wonderful to see and hear. So I would love to know how medical cannabis has helped you as a patient, because you have both sides. You have the professional side and also the patient side. So first off, how has it helped you personally as a patient?
Yeah, great question. I deal with a lot of symptoms, and I have for a long time, but now that I've been a therapeutic cannabis patient and I'm getting different products to target things, it's really neat to see how specific products help with certain symptoms. But pain has always been something I've dealt with. I started taking opioids at 15 when that first tumor started. I've lived with pain for a long time. It's just part of my daily life. And again, that first night I tried cannabis, I didn't feel pain the same way. It was so interesting the way that it gave me pain relief. And that's definitely, again, it's my biggest reason for reaching for it now. The more I know about cannabis, the more I'm learning about how it helps with pain. And that's really fascinating. But
definitely,
again, the pain relief has been the biggest, but as well as my appetite and nausea. It's something I've dealt with for a long time. When you're a cancer patient, you deal with a lot of stomach and appetite issues, and it's a struggle still for me today. And I have several instances where I wasn't eating and nothing else was working. I was in the hospital, and cannabis is the one thing that helped me get out of that. One little edible got me to eat a meal that I wouldn't have eaten otherwise. And, that one meal gave me to eat another meal that got me out of the hospital. It's amazing that made the difference. Yeah. And even today, I deal with appetite issues today, and there's certain products that just, they help with that. And it's been something that has, again, helped me daily from the beginning. But a lot of it also, I mentioned this a little bit when I was giving my story, is with the mental health stuff. It really does just relaxes me. I do a lot of meditation. I do a lot of practices where I'm just calming my mind, and cannabis has just been there for me for that. Yeah. I am very outdoorsy. I just go and sit outside, and I've found peace when I'm out there. And cannabis is a part of that. And we hear about it a lot. It helps with anxiety. It helps with depression. It can help with PTSD. And I deal with those things in varying degrees. But it's interesting that different strains, different products will help in different ways. But I've found that cannabis has helped me in all of those ways. Throughout the last 6 years that I've been using it. It's just, in some moments, it's been the only thing that's helped. And I've tried a lot of medications.
I bet.
I have a whole box of prescription bottles. It's really fascinating that I can say now that the only medication or prescription I take is cannabis. It's, I consider it just a therapeutic plant. But right now it's amazing that it can do all these things for me, and it has. And I hope that it will continue to for a long time.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know what? I have used, medical cannabis pretty much since the beginning. I think I first went to a dispensary, a medical dispensary on right before I was going to start chemo, because you're worried about the pain, bone pain, and nausea, and appetite, and anxiety. Oh my God, the anxiety. So it's just, and I feel the same. It has helped me in all of those areas as well. And it's pretty incredible. It's an incredible little plant. Yeah. So now you work professionally in the cannabis industry, and I know you mentioned, there's different strains and different products, and all sorts of stuff that people kind of have to navigate. And in your opinion, let's just start with what are the main, before we get into specific products and stuff, what are the main ways that cannabis can support a cancer patient through surgery and treatment and all of that?
Yeah. Well, again, like all the symptoms that I talked about are symptoms that a lot of us deal with in the cancer community. Pain, nausea, appetite, anxiety, depression, PTSD. And it's interesting, the different products. The more I'm learning about flower, that's the word flower, bud, cannabis, weed, it's neat because each specific strain has different terpenes. It has different cannabinoids, the THC and CBD, and the other parts that make cannabis are all different. And there's a lot of studies out there that, it's interesting because cannabis isn't that well studied right now. And it's what we actually know about it is fairly limited. And, but the things that they're finding out about, how different terpenes help with different symptoms. And there's a couple products that we've found that have helped with certain things, like for appetite and nausea. A lot of patients can't take edibles, so there's products like tinctures where you're dropping it under your tongue. One of our most popular products, which I wish we had right now, are lozenges, where you're just,
great.
It's great because you get the dry mouth, it's a nice way.
Yeah.
We even had mints at one point, which was cool. We don't sell this, but I've seen this as, oral sprays. It's just ways that you can ingest cannabis without, and putting much in your stomach. There's ways that you can, work around that. And there's one product called Delta 8 THC. It's a form of THC that's a little bit slightly different composition, where it's a more stable molecule, and it's actually a lot less psychoactive. But it's one of the things it's been targeted to really help with is chemo-induced nausea. Like there's been studies.
Specific.
Again, I wish there was more and more research on
this
and that we could claim these things, but it's just really neat how that's a product that has been shown to help, that they did studies on it. It's a product that I now use daily.
Amazing.
It helps a lot with my pain. It helps with my phantom limb pain, which is a unique sensation I deal with. And but it's a really unique product that, some places are now carrying that, could help a lot of patients with appetite and nausea while still being pretty clear-headed. And, the forms of it could be really, really helpful for different patients. And so
that's exciting.
Anyway, that's a product I take daily that I love.
Yeah.
So I always
gotta mention it.
But it's really neat for anyone that ever hears about it or can get access to it. But yeah. And so it's, with mental health stuff, it's really interesting. Like CBD has been a huge proponent right now for helping with anxiety. I know it's kind of like the baby step into cannabis.
Yeah, because you don't get the psychoactive elements, which I think is what a lot of people are scared about or nervous about in trying cannabis. Yeah, they're worried it might make their anxiety worse or or something else worse. Yeah.
Yep. And there's pieces of the psychoactivity that can be incredibly helpful for dealing with it. But it's neat that, CBD is a product that, a lot of people right now can get access to because it's legal in a lot of places. And
yeah, that's right.
It's incredible for that. But, it's neat that, it's something that can really help and really relax the body. And it works as an anti-inflammatory, it's
amazing.
It really is. We do a lot of products at our place that are combinations of CBD and THC. We call it the 1-to-1, and it's just a really good ratio of, THC is wonderful. We love THC, but the combination of other products is you get other therapeutic benefits. But we have another product that, it's not just CBD and THC, it's the other cannabinoids. Like there's CBDA, which is the form of CBD before it's been decarboxylated, before it converts. And there's CBG, which is another cannabinoid, and CBC, CBN. There's all these different cannabinoids, which are the chemical components of cannabis. And some of our products have multiple ones of those in there, like THCA, which THCA is the form of cannabis before you heat it. So if you took a cannabis leaf
and ate it,
it's not going to get you high. But you're consuming THCA, which is another cannabinoid, which can act as an anti-inflammatory and have its own therapeutic benefits.
Very cool.
It's neat that, it's not just the THC that's in cannabis, not just that psychoactive part. There's non-psychoactive parts that have their own therapeutic benefits.
They're super helpful. Yeah.
They are. We don't know a ton about them. Some of them show antiviral properties. Some of them show antioxidant properties. Some could potentially show anti-tumor properties, which is really cool and exciting. The way that it could help fight cancer cells. And I'm hoping that we get the research done for that.
Me too.
It's something that I really do hope we get soon, because it's amazing what they're learning and what cannabis could potentially help with.
Definitely. I think because one of the struggles of not having that research is that we don't know exactly, which strains are going to be the best for things like, anti-cancer properties, if there are some in there, and dosing and, best types for different types of cancer. It just seems like there's so much that we could learn. There's so much potential based on what we already know, that, it would just be amazing if there could, if we get those research dollars.
Yes. It's cool because a lot of what we talk about is the entourage effect. So it's about, the cannabinoids, so THC, CBD, the terpenes, and terpenes are what give cannabis the smell, the aroma.
Right. The citrus, pine, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. It's found in a lot of plants. It's found in tea. It's found in lots of different things. But the combination of cannabinoids with terpenes with the dosage of each is really what creates this entourage effect. It creates this, unique effect that you find in different plants.
Very cool.
all flowers are different. I love flowers. There's flowers on my shirt. Flowers behind me. It's really neat that this is just a flower. You think about it, you smell it, you're like, it's a plant that's growing.
Totally.
I truly believe it was given to us for a good reason. And the evidence is there already that it's helping with a lot of things. And again, me, just personal experience, it's amazing what this flower can do.
Absolutely. Wonderful. That's a lot of info, really great info.
Yes.
Thank you. So, we've been talking a lot about the sort of the symptoms of like treatment and surgery and that kind of stuff. So there might be people who are, maybe where we are now, they're past, the worst of treatment. And they're maybe thinking that they're at a point where cannabis won't necessarily help them. So how can cannabis continue to support us after we're through, treatment and the worst effects of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. We deal with cancer. A lot of us, if you're young, you're old, it's traumatizing. Like you go through events that are really hard. And one of the hardest symptoms for me has been PTSD. Like before my scans, I get so anxious.
Anxiety.
Like even this weekend, because I hit an anniversary, it was just a lot of memories came up, a lot of emotions. It's cancer never really leaves you in some way. You cannot have it anymore, but it's still a part of your journey and your story. And for me, it kind of haunts me still. Cannabis has just calmed me and helped me in those moments. I had it with me then, and it feels like, it's the thing I can reach for, and it calms me down when there's nothing else. And I've had other practices in place. It's cool that, with cannabis, I started going out outdoor on walks. And so I just take walks now sometimes. I find yoga has helped me, and it's something that, cannabis was the only thing that would relax my body enough to even do yoga in the first place. And so it's, cannabis is a very healing thing. And I don't necessarily think it's for everyone. I think that it can help some people, and for others, it might not be their thing, but there's definitely times where it can be incredibly helpful. And, even if you're not dealing with some of these symptoms immediately, it's something that I always have on backup. And, I know that there's some people that use it heavily and some people that use it every now and then when they need it. And it's just, I love cannabis because you can make it very unique for yourself.
Yes, I love that.
My favorite thing is I'm the one in control of my medication. Like I choose how much I take, when I take it, how I take it. There's so much choice involved, and a lot of it is learning your own body. I say, this is the symptom I'm dealing with today. This is the product that I think can help. And it's cool because, now with the cannabis industry, there's a lot more education.
There is.
We have a whole department for consulting where, my coworkers sit and they spend an hour talking to patients about their story, about their life, what they've been through. And, there's people in there that are, actively in treatment, depending on what condition they have, they might be in a place where they're having serious health issues. Some people are coming in there that have been either using cannabis for their whole life or trying it for the first time. And it's really neat that, now patients can sit down and talk to people and get this education. And
that's so great.
They can have people that, trained professionals that can help you pick products, I wish it was accessible everywhere right now.
Yes.
And I know online resources.
We're lucky in Canada, yeah.
You are. In New Hampshire, we're great. We're lucky.
Yes.
But, I know Texas, where I lived for a long time, that's one of the reasons I don't live there anymore. That was the biggest reason I had to move, honestly, was just I couldn't feel like it was illegal anymore.
Yeah.
But it's truly amazing how the industry has grown. Even New Hampshire, I think it's only been 4 or 5 years that it's been legalized. I can't remember. But it's amazing how much education you can get if you find the right people to get it from.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And again, personalize it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think in cancer, or really like any major illness, it often feels so out of our control. Like we just feel so helpless in the situation, and you're just feeling like you're kind of, being pulled along in this current of like events and treatments. And then afterwards too, you can't really go, like you said before, you can't really go back to your old life. It's always with you, and you're like, how do I move forward? And there's just so much that seems different and confusing and out of your control, that to be able to get some of that control back, and around something that can be so helpful for so many of the really, terrible physical effects and mental and emotional effects. It's just, it can be game changing. Yeah, absolutely. It's wonderful. So there are probably people who are watching who haven't tried cannabis before, or maybe, did when they were younger and had a bad experience, and they're nervous about maybe trying it again. So what tips do you have for people who are maybe trying it for the first time, or have, had a bad experience and are nervous about trying it again?
Good. All right. So again, cannabis is a very helpful thing, but there's a lot of ways to experience it. It's a lot of it is based on your setting. It depends on how you're accessing cannabis, who you're with, what your environment is. And again, you could be someone that's trying it at a college party like me, or you could be someone that goes to a therapeutic or medical dispensary, picks it up, and is trying it at home. But again, for a lot of it, I say treat it like a practice. When you're using cannabis, find time for it. Find a place where you can relax and use it. Find people that you want to be around. If you're around someone that you don't want to feel the effects around, that'll make you anxious, you might feel anxious.
Good point. Yeah.
Who you're around, what you're around plays a big factor in your experience. You might be someone that wants to try it alone just because you want to experience the effects by yourself, but you might want a friend with you. I know that most cannabis users like to share.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's such a communal thing.
Yeah, it really is.
It really is. I love sharing it.
Yeah.
I call it my giving flowers away. Flower girl.
Flower girl. It's so nice. I love that.
But you really want to step into it slow and steady. Again, there are so many resources out there now that, educate yourself. It is tough because, legality does play a role. If you're somewhere that's, you're like, it's illegal where I'm at, I want to try it, I don't have access. There are ways of finding access.
Yes.
I suggest safe and, places you trust, but if you're willing to take the risk, I made that choice when I was in Texas. I said, it's worth it for my life. It's worth it for my quality of life. And I found a way to get it. But again, I moved across the country to find access to it. So, those are choices that you kind of have to take into account before starting it. But it's also something that, if it comes into your life, it's not something to necessarily be afraid of. Again, you can do baby steps, like start with the non-psychoactive.
Yeah, with the CBD.
Absolutely. Just try it out. But, the psychoactivity or the euphoria or the high feeling, it's something, we try to understand as professionals, and it's kind of hard to describe,
It's true.
It really is, in some ways it heightens your awareness. In some ways it gives you a euphoria that makes you almost feel intoxicated, but at the same time you feel, like you're more aware of your surroundings. It's amazing how we've, me and my coworkers recently have tried to write down all the effects of cannabis.
Ooh, long list.
Incredibly long. And everyone experiences it differently. In general, it makes people relaxed. It makes people calm, but that euphoria you feel, it can make you more creative. It can make you reflective. It helps me a lot with yoga and meditation, where I calm my mind down. I can rest my body, and I can, but it's again, you want to be in a good situation. You want to be in a good place. And if you experience it in a good way, it can be incredibly therapeutic. And, if you have a bad experience, I say maybe try again. But step into it slow and steady.
Slow and steady.
Dosage, as I mentioned the entourage effect earlier.
Yeah.
One of the things I like about THC CBD products is you get a little bit of that THC with the CBD. So it's a little more calming, not as psychoactive, but you're getting that benefit from both. And
definitely.
I like smoking flower. I do it in the cleanest ways possible, but you get the most terpenes, the most of those, plant bits, and you really do, you feel the effects quicker.
Yeah.
So for me, I go outside and I spend time with it, and I can relax and I can just enjoy the place I'm at, smoking and being in nature are my favorite things.
It's like making it into an experience.
Like again, I'll go out, sit outside. I will sit with flowers. I relax. It's my time, and I treat it that way. Like it's a practice, like I mentioned. Sometimes I have friends with me. Sometimes, I do it by myself. Sometimes I'm inside. Sometimes I'm outside. And sometimes I don't smoke at all. I use edibles. I use tinctures. I mentioned that. We carry a good product of edibles. I like that we have like a honey, we have chocolates. And,
amazing. You love honey.
I do. And we have capsules too, I do love it. But it's so fascinating what types of products we have access to now. It's amazing. We have some flowers now that are just incredibly high THC levels that there's some patients that can only find relief with that much THC.
Right. That's right.
Everybody is different. And for some people, they need a lot of it.
A lot of it. Yeah.
And, Rick Simpson oil is a popular product for patients. And again, it's a high concentrated oil.
Super. Yeah.
That you build up dosage wise. It's cannabis is something that the first time you experience it, a little bit will go a long way.
A long way.
When you're a professional like me, and I'm not sure if you're this way, but
it takes a little more. I actually have a funny, it was not funny at the time, but it's funny now. I had gotten some of the Rick Simpson oil, and I didn't realize how strong it was. I'd never used anything like it before. And I took, like a small amount, but it was obviously like a little more than I should have. And it was the day that I was going to meet my oncologist for the first time. And I was just sitting in the waiting room, just freaking out because you're already so anxious. You're so like worried about, it was just like a terrible choice, but by accident, and it's easy to do. So it comes back to your point about, starting low, going slow, and maybe starting with something like a CBD or a one-to-one that has both in it. Don't go right for the top shelf THC.
And even with inhalation, we have vapes. We have really good vapes that we sell. And, for a person that's never smoked in their life, you say, take this little pen and just take a little puff.
Yeah.
A little.
Yeah.
I love when I talk to grandmas. I say, just take a little puff, just right before.
That's amazing.
But I like inhalation because it kicks in quicker.
Yeah.
You can kind of control your dose.
Yes. Edibles, it's more difficult because it takes a long time sometimes.
And, we love homemade edibles. They're great, but you never quite know the dose.
Nope.
If you find access to them, it's great, but you never quite know
how
much to take. And so, when you go to a dispensary like ours, things are in milligram doses. So 5 milligrams is a good starting dose. That's fairly small. But like 20 milligrams is another, a good dose size that for me would get me sufficiently medicated. I would go to 20 milligrams. But some patients need 50 milligrams. Some patients, again, need those higher concentrate levels. Everybody's different.
Everyone's different. Yes. Now we've been talking about it a bit, so we may have already mentioned it, but could you maybe go into a little more detail on what some of the most popular cannabis products are? And is there, a one that people tend to start with? Or does it really just sort of depend on the person, depend on the symptoms?
Yeah. Honestly, like I look at the order forms throughout the day because right now I do a lot of the express orders. And it is so diverse what people are ordering. We have flower strains, and again, the ones are with our flower strains, we have different kinds. And right now we're working on a way to explain how the different strains help with different things. Right now, we don't have the best system of doing that, but everyone that I work with is so well educated in what we do, and it's neat how much we're learning about the products. And even just, again, a lot of us are patients and as well as employees there, so we talk about the products and how they help. But I might give you just a brief rundown of our whole.
Go for it.
Again, I'm a patient there, and I've tried everything.
I bet.
I joke that I did clinical trials. I know what it's like to be
a guinea pig.
I'm my favorite test subject. I will try everything and anything, and it gives me good information because of
you can give advice. Yeah.
Again, we have a lot of flower, and high THC levels seem to be very popular. It's a lot of people are looking for that, but not necessarily gives you the most euphoria. We find that sometimes a lot of THC doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get the most high from it. It's it's something that each strain just kind of has its own quirks and its own personalities almost. Like it's neat. But we have a lot of vapes, and again, we sell enough that they all target different things. It's similar to flower. You get those different effects with each product, and there's still terpenes and cannabinoids in there. You still get that whole entourage effect.
Definitely.
We sell concentrated products as well, like rosin, which is you take cannabis flower and you apply a lot of heat and pressure, and squish it, and squeeze out the juice, basically. But we have an incredible amount of concentrates with this rosin. There's some other kinds that are called shatter or butter or diamonds is another name we found. Sugars, crumble. There's lots of words. And concentrated cannabis is amazing. You get those high doses easily. You vaporize it, so you need some sort of glass or a vaporizer. But it's for me, my pain levels are so high at night that I need something to just drop it quickly. My lungs aren't the best. I do have limited function in my right lung, and because of that, I limit how much I inhale every day. And concentrates, you can really get the dose that you need to medicate in almost one inhale. It's really great the way it concentrates. A lot of our patients with severe chronic pain, that's definitely something they reach for. And it's again a great product because you get those high doses easily. But again, other ways to get high doses, or even just to try it out, or we have edibles, but we also have capsules. Capsules they're just, I believe, like a MCT, which is a coconut oil base. In little capsules, and I like them because you can have them with you almost anywhere.
It's discreet.
Have them in your purse, and you can have all different kinds. There's at our store we do daytime, nighttime. 2 different types of THC capsules, but we have CBD capsules. We have THC CBD capsules. We have that Delta 8 THC I was talking about in the capsule. So you can get all these different therapeutic products in different capsules. So
that's great.
With capsules, we sell all different kinds. But it's one of those things that if you're taking it consistently, like if you're like, I need to be on a regimen, I need to take something every hour, if you're someone that needs structure, it's a really good way to dose yourself.
Yes, good point.
But edibles can also, I'm someone that I'm like, I don't have to take a pill to medicate myself.
Great.
Because edibles can do almost the same. The absorption is a little different with different edibles. The sugar to fat ratio in an edible will affect the way it's absorbed.
Interesting.
And every body is different with absorption. I know some people that they say edibles just don't work for them. Some people, edibles work real well. So again, it depends on your own body, but with edibles, I love honey. I do. I love honey.
You love it.
I put it in tea. I put it on ice cream. I put on graham crackers with some cinnamon.
Oh, amazing. Whew.
But, we have chocolates. We have fruit chews, which are some of the most popular just because, again, they're easy. It's like daily multivitamin.
Yeah.
And that we have in a 5 milligram and 20. So, you could choose to get different doses. You can consistently take,
totally.
If you wake up saying my pain is bad, I need my pain med, you just take one of your gummies.
Take one of that.
It's a good way, very accessible form. But occasionally fun stuff.
Yeah.
But that's lozenges.
Great rundown. Yeah.
Tinctures.
Those sounded cool. Yeah.
And we even have suppositories.
No way.
For patients that need them. It's another product that, again, you can just get absorption in ways that you don't get it any other way.
If you're nauseous or whatever, you can't keep something down. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
Pelvic pain as well.
True, because you're delivering it sort of as close to the site as possible.
Yeah. That's one of the things that, it's not quite as popular, but it's
I
an option. I'm like, it's for some patients, it is the best option.
The best. So it's really more about sort of trying what's available and seeing what works best for you.
Yeah, because everywhere you go, again, if you go to a legal dispensary and purchase from there, recreational or medical, you're going to find different products. And I think one of the biggest things, especially if you're therapeutic, look for the other cannabinoids. Don't look for products that are just THC.
Right.
I always suggest find products that work for you and try to find a good way to get it. And we even sell, concentrated oil syringes where you can, it's a lot of oil that you can slowly use in edibles throughout a year. There's ways that you can find the right thing for you. And there's so many options. There's more and more every day.
Yeah, there really is. Wonderful. So, you've talked about a little bit when you were in Texas, but cannabis is quite a controversial topic, particularly in places in the U.S. because here in Canada we're super lucky now that it is entirely legal, but there are lots of places in the U.S. where it's still not even legal for medical use. Correct? Yeah. So has it been hard for you to include cannabis in your life, and did you face any kind of judgment or intolerance or prejudice from friends or family or your doctors even?
Luckily, my family has all been very supportive from the start.
That's good.
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
I didn't have to convince them, but I definitely, it wasn't something I started using and was immediately vocal about.
Right.
Again, I started using it in Texas. It was a college town, which was quite friendly for things like that. But at the same time, I did feel a lot of judgment sometimes. So I kept it quiet. I just, it's not like I wasn't proud of it. It was just something I kept more to myself. But I did have an encounter with law enforcement one time.
Oh, no.
It was terrifying. And I luckily did not have any consequences from it. I did have to flush it down the toilet. Sad, but it was. I'm so lucky that situation happened how it did. And it's hard that not everyone understands the therapeutic benefits. And at the time, I didn't really either. It was something, especially in Texas, I didn't have access to much. I basically just had access to flower. Luckily, I got a couple of edibles, couple of vapes every now and then. It was. It was definitely challenging to feel like it was therapeutic. I kept feeling like I was breaking the law. I was doing, I feel like I was doing drug deals. I felt like I was using products illegally. I had to hide it from neighbors and friends.
It's stressful.
It was, and I needed it at the time more than anything. And that's when I was dealing with the most symptoms, and that's when I didn't have access to the products I really needed.
Yeah.
And so you face a lot of hardship there. But when I came back to New Hampshire, I got my card, just that feeling safe.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it pretty recently, right after we met.
Yeah, that's right. I remember your post on Instagram with your card being like, finally.
That was the best day ever.
Yeah.
It just felt legitimized. And that's when I started really advocating. I said, all right, I have the legal backing for this.
Behind you, yep.
I can start speaking out because I'm not breaking any rules anymore.
No.
And, that's really when I started sharing my story. And I didn't tell any of my doctors, except for one oncologist I had with me in College Station. She ended up being my go-to for everything, like just an amazing doctor that I just could deal with on a, we could talk about things I couldn't.
More comfortable.
Yeah. And so I talked to a lot about it, and it was nice to have someone, but a lot of my doctors at MD Anderson didn't know, which was a challenge because these people are treating you and they don't necessarily understand that, there was one specific instance where I wasn't eating, and cannabis is the thing that's got me to start eating again. My doctors didn't really know that. I think we told one or two of the doctor team members, but it felt hard because it was illegal. And I wish that I tried opening up more at the time, but it's scary, for patients.
Super scary.
And I didn't have a legitimate, rebuttal if a doctor had questioned me,
Right. You didn't really understand the effects of it. Yeah.
So, now it's interesting because I had a telemedicine visit with my thoracic surgeon, and he asked me, what medications are you taking? And I said, oh, well, I'm not taking any of those prescriptions, but I am on cannabis. And I made him put it in my chart, and we just talked about it. And it was neat because I got to tell him and said I was using this, and it was helpful. And now I'm professional. And, he was great about it. It was a good conversation. But, there is a fear of stigma, even my primary care right now, I'm not quite sure how much she understands. And I don't really have the energy to explain it to her. But it's interesting how much doctors know versus, especially just with the amount of research I've been doing, just how much I know versus what they know. It's, it's interesting how there's not really any cannabis medical professionals yet. I think it's a field that'll get filled.
Yes. It's interesting. Yeah. Cause all of the professionals that I've come across are either people who are working at, like a dispensary or for a company, a cannabis company, or nurses. I've come across a few former oncology nurses who have moved into, cannabis, which is really, really, really cool. Actually, if anyone is interested, Radical Health is one of the organizations. And with her name is Eloise, and she was fantastic. But it's interesting. There's not really, cannabis doctors as a title yet,
Like we have patients that call us doc sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a doctor, but I feel like a pharmacist, but I also feel like an herbalist, but I also feel like a counselor, but I
was gonna say therapist a little bit.
It's very interesting, the roles that we play sometimes. And it's weird that now, I meet random strangers, I meet family friends, they go, what do you do for work? Oh, good question.
Well,
an alternative treatment center, and we dispense cannabis. And it's neat because it's, you have those conversations kind of quickly with people.
It's a great way to start that conversation for sure.
I'm grateful that I haven't really had anyone I've never really had a negative experience with it. It's interesting because I have a good rebuttal for it. I truly, phantom pain is a really unique sensation, but the sensation of feeling a missing limb it's very unique, and cannabis has helped so much. So if anyone ever questioned me, I'd say, well, it helps me with my missing arm. And if anyone gives me any
grief about that,
I will just, I don't know.
You'll be able to get that. Well, and I think that's a big, if people are worried about that, right? They're worried about including it in their life because of the judgment or the stigma. I think being clear about why you're using it, to be like, I have, X, Y, and Z symptoms. And I think there's not a lot about a cancer patient's journey and experience that someone else who has not gone through is going to question and be like, well, that's wrong, right? Having having a serious symptom that you need help with, whether that's, cancer related or not. I think understanding why you're using it and how it's helping you. I think it's not only good to just understand how the things we're taking are affecting us and how they're helping, but then you can, use that as sort of a rebuttal. It can be like, well, I deal with pretty severe pain or anxiety or whatever else, and it really helps with that.
It's, you kind of have to, when I was talking about earlier, you kind of need to justify if it's worth the risk sometimes.
Right.
You also kind of just need to sit for yourself and be like, how is this really helping me? And then defend yourself. There's where you shouldn't have to. And
no,
there's times I'm like, no, you are right in your decision. You don't have to claim it to anyone else.
Yeah, 100%.
There are also times where it's like, you can stand up and, it's the biggest thing is no one's alone in this. Like, I really love that, a lot of the cancer community is starting to form this cannabis advocacy, and stuff like this. Because, we're speaking out for it, and, we deal with a lot of different symptoms that other people relate to, people with other mental health issues, other physical issues. It's cool how much people are coming together for this, because it's not just one person's story, it's all of ours.
It's
and
everybody.
Cannabis has done so much.
And I think that's another way, if someone is experiencing negativity around it or is worried about it, finding your people, find people who understand and who support you. And you're lucky that your family was supportive. My family was too, which is really great. But if it's not your family or your current friends, find some people who are really supportive of that, because I mean, I think sometimes we let people's opinions and judgments affect our behavior too much. But when it comes to your health, like, there's really nothing else that should be more important than what you feel. Yeah, totally.
Like, you're taking control of your own health. And cannabis helps you. Like, it's
100%.
And it's amazing how much it's helped my journey, and how it can help all of ours.
It's wonderful. So this kind of is in line with, the difficulties that surround cannabis still, but, what advice would you have for people who are interested in including cannabis in their life or in their, health protocol, but they're not sure where or how to access it?
Good question. It really depends on where you are. Luckily, there's a couple of websites that can, point you in the right direction. I like Leafly. There's a couple of other websites out there, though, that, there's information. But honestly, I find just Googling, what state or what country you live in.
It's pretty specific.
Like, a lot of our information for our state's on the Department of Health and Human Services website under the Therapeutic Cannabis Department. But, if you go on my dispensary's website as well, you find all the information on how to qualify as a patient, A lot of specific places will put information on even how to get access to products. But again, a lot of it's location dependent. And I believe that CBD can be shipped. I haven't personally purchased it and had it delivered to me, but I think that, there are some cannabis products that you can get delivered to you. Some states even have delivery systems now, which is very
cool.
But in terms of finding education, there are resources out there. I wish I had a list with me right now, but I don't. But
if you send it to me, I can post it when I share the recording. I can include the links. So if you send them to me.
Good to know. But it really is, if you dig into it, you can also find professionals that will talk to you. Again, I think it depends on the state. The fact that we even in New Hampshire have consults that meet with you is an incredible thing. And I think programs like that are growing and becoming popular. But it's really that, that's one thing that I find unique with our state, that you get to sit and have a conversation with someone who knows this, that's a unique thing. And
definitely
that again, like, I've found a couple places in California that do it, that online is the best way, because it's, I wish that there was a universal way to do it, but
I know, me too.
And
every state, every country, definitely, that would be nice. And I know for those who are in Canada, I would suggest, if you're using it medically, because we have such easy access to it here now. It's like going to the beer store or the liquor store. It's like, or the corner store and buying a pack of cigarettes. Like that's how easy it is. But I would definitely recommend that you go somewhere that is not just a recreational dispensary. And like you said, has somebody that you can sit down with and talk to and say, like, these are the specific symptoms that I would need help with. And for example, when I spoke to Eloise at Radical Health, she told me some things about, my specific type of cancer. And like you said, the research is not vast yet, but because at their clinic they've helped so many people, they have a really wide base of anecdotal evidence, and so they're able to give recommendations based on like what they've seen with their patients. So that was extremely helpful too, to get, say like, what we know so far, this is a good milligram dose every day. But so I would say that if you are wanting to use it medically, you should definitely go somewhere where you can talk to somebody and say, like, what should I do? Especially if you're new to cannabis too, I would say for sure. Yeah.
There is a small difference between recreational and medical, just in the way that a lot of the employees are trained, just their knowledge base, and also products available. But
definitely.
The biggest thing is, if you're interested in trying it, find someone in your life or that lives near you maybe that uses it. That's in college was my first resources. Was I found friends. I said, oh, you use cannabis, can I talk to you about it? Because I'm curious. And again, cannabis is a very communal thing. We like sharing, and I am so glad there's so much more education about it. But try talking to people in your life. If you know someone that's used it and it's helped, I always am glad when people reach out to me. And but there's so many resources, and again, if you're looking for it, it'll find you.
It'll find you. I like that. Yeah, absolutely. So finally, we're almost done, but before we go, your story, as everyone heard at the beginning, was absolutely incredible, and I was just so inspired. For background info for people watching, Alicia and I met at a rock climbing trip in Colorado for young cancer survivors that are offered by a organization called First Descents. And so if anyone is under 45 and a cancer survivor and you like outdoor adventure, look them up. But we were rock climbing, and this woman did everything one-armed, and it was incredible. And I remember us like putting one hand behind our back and like trying to climb up, and it was significantly more difficult. That is for sure. And it's just, you're just an incredibly inspiring person that you can have so much positivity and good perspective as a result of like what you've gone through, which I think is just incredible. So for those people who are, struggling with their diagnosis or their treatment, or perhaps their own, crazy life-altering surgery, is there anything that you would want to tell them that you've learned from your own experience that might help them out?
Yeah. I know that everyone is in different places with their cancer journey, and some people are in a good place, some people are having a harder time, but my biggest thing is find joy in the present. Just wherever you can. On my worst days, even just a bouquet of flowers would give me enough joy to get through. Now I get to sit in a whole garden of flowers, but I just have faith for the future is a big one. But again, just find a support system, find people, and have a lot of love for yourself and for others. It's self-love was a big thing I had to learn.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Taking care of yourself is an important practice.
So important.
Yeah, but you're not alone. There's a lot of us fighting, and it's a journey that we're all going to have to go through. But we're here together, and we have things that can help, like cannabis.
Like cannabis. Yes, absolutely. That's wonderful advice. Thank you for sharing. Well, I just want to thank you so much for being here and for sharing your expertise and your story with everyone. I think it's, like I said, super inspiring, and I'm sure it's going to, all the information you provided will hopefully help a lot of people who are watching. If anyone wants to, find out more about you or follow what you're up to, is there a way that they can do that?
Yes, my Instagram's a good place if you ever want to pop in and see what I'm doing.
Awesome. What's your handle?
It's at Earth Bennett. At Earth, like the earth we walk on, Bennett, like my last name, B-E-N-N-E-T-T.
Wonderful. Awesome. And if anybody would like to learn more about Orenda Cancer Community and what I'm doing, you can go to my website at orendablog.ca, or you can find me on Facebook, Orenda Cancer Community FB group. And I post lots of stuff on there, diet stuff, recipes, there's a really heavy focus on mental health and emotional health, because that was a really huge thing for me going through cancer, and that came about as a result of that was just much improved mental and emotional health, funnily enough. And of course, Empowered is brought to you by Cancer Warrior Canada Foundation. It's an organization, if you don't know, that raises awareness about early detection and raises funds for research and does a whole lot of awesome stuff. They're also helping people right now during this continued crazy time with, food deliveries and sanitation products and all of that stuff. So if you or anybody that you know needs some help or support in those ways, you can call the number that's going across the bottom of the screen now, or you can find them on their social media pages, and you can contact them through there. So thank you, Alicia, once again for being here, and thank you for everyone who was watching. It was such a wonderful hour, and thank you so much for being here. It was great.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.